So she's not standing on her own, but we'll be safely behind her.
Yes, hovering. Kia ora koutou. Just before we kick into questions, and that is a remarkable distance everyone is keeping. Before we kick into questions, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of a sense of why we've decided to make this visit here to one of the kāinga order sites today. This is an example of the lessons that were learned during New Zealand's first lockdown, so that at level 3, kāinga order have been operating on sites like this and doing so safely. The work teams are split into groups. Those groups work within a designated bubble. They even have designated facilities that they are using. So in the eventuality that they may have contact with a COVID case, they are able to keep an isolated work bubble contained and to follow all protocols that might then eventuate from that contact. So that's just an example of what I know is being replicated across different sites, particularly in Auckland, to make sure that during level 3 we've been keeping workers safe, and an illustration of the kind of work that's been going on over the past couple of weeks, even though we've had restrictions going on in Auckland. Obviously, we're moving into a different phase in Auckland now. I see widespread mask use in Auckland, which is fantastic. That is what we are encouraging. It's just one way we can make sure we're just stepping up our vigilance in Auckland while we're at this stage. Look, happy to take questions. Well, look, for me it would only be anecdotal. What I can tell you from the trips that I've made across town as I've been visiting different sites, the usage has been high, and this really is day one, certainly for Auckland. What I hope is that we'll see that we see that being kept up and maintained. It is an added piece of vigilance, a tool that we have to keep ourselves and others safe. We are asking Aucklanders to do that. Of course, very difficult for us to enforce that, but we're saying to Aucklanders, those rules, we're asking you to apply them not only in your region, but to you yourself as well, particularly around gatherings. And so to others across the country, I'm sure that there are friends and family you'd like to catch up with from Auckland. At this stage, we are saying we do need to keep that small. That's all part of our ongoing protections. We are still a team here, and I think everyone recognises that Auckland has been going through a particularly tough period. What I'd like to ask again is what we've asked all the way through: a bit of kindness, a bit of smiling with the eyes behind the mask. Remember that Aucklanders have been bearing the brunt of this latest wave, and just to treat them with the thanks and the care that they do deserve while we all continue to get through this together.
What has your modelling shown you
Yep.
what's your modelling shown you about the likelihood of COVID spreading outside Auckland now we're into?
I haven't seen modelling specific to the scenario that we have at the moment, and I think it would be very fair to say it's very difficult to model with even single clusters, and that's been one of the key learnings for us from cluster management. But you'll remember the reason we kept New Zealand at level 2 is so that we can continue to have that precautionary approach. We have had cases outside of Auckland, and to date we have been able to manage them properly through our public health measures.
Are you nervous at all about this move?
Now, we have a plan that we know will work. We just need everyone's compliance and help. If everyone sticks to those guidelines and rules, coupled together with all the public health measures that we have, we can make this work. But it will call upon all of us to do our bit. We're undertaking the review on the 6th, by the 6th of September. But beyond that, we, as always, will look at the data, what it's telling us about this particular cluster and its ongoing management. What is very fair to say, we will see cases from this cluster for some time to come. And I think that's a fair point to make. There have been some who have thought that we should perhaps stay in heightened restrictions until we reach zero. It will take some time for that to be the case. Just family transmission what we've seen with past clusters, we know it's going to have a tail, but it all needs to be managed, and we have the ability to do that. Look, I wouldn't rule in or out any of those variations, but at this stage we are being very cautious around the rest of the country as well, which is why they are in level 2 arrangements. Absolutely. You'll find that what we've said has been utterly consistent, and I can assure you that if we were going to do something so significant as ask hundreds of thousands of people to be tested, you would hear that from us, not from a Twitter post or an Instagram post, or from a website. We would be sharing that information. And actually what I think is key here, you have heard utterly consistent messaging from the Director General of Health, from all the ministers who have taken to the podium. And it was wrong. And again, we would not leave a message as significant to that to a website, to a Twitter account or to Instagram. That is something we would communicate directly. It was incorrect. We moved very quickly to correct it. And again, to anyone who had any added level of anxiety or took any extra time out of their day as a result of that message, I can only apologise. But you will continue to see consistent messaging from us. Oh, look, regardless, I've already said if anyone, and I absolutely mean this could have and did cause anxiety for people, and I'm sorry for that. No one should have any reason to feel any extra stress than they already do right now, and I hope that clarity of message has helped support them. Morena.
When it comes to making that compulsory for public to wear public transport, what happens to those who can't afford them?
Yeah.
Giving a whole lot of the homeless people, and who would be responsible for telling people that, since they're not wearing a mask,
Yeah.
there's consequences?
Yeah. Of course, at the moment we're mandating it for public transport, so that's the only place where we have that enforcement regime, although we're encouraging general use in Auckland as well. And for these early days, we are expecting that we'll be taking that education approach, just sharing what the expectations are. We do have the police out and about with extra masks to support people and to de-escalate if we have any issues that arise. At the same time, we have been distributing surgical masks through things like food parcels to support people who might not have access. But I do want to encourage people, if you've got a piece of spare cloth at home and you have 2 hair ties, you can fashion a face covering, use bandanas, use scarves. They are all adequate as face coverings as well. Oh, do you know, I think that New Zealanders are not alone in the fact that everyone feels a bit tired. We've been going through this experience now since the end of February, and so it's natural that we feel tired. The whole world is. But we actually, relative to others, we're doing really well. We will be able to get back in front of the virus, though, if we all follow the guidelines. So that's what I'm asking people.
Can you offer clarity just around who should get tested?
Yep.
Especially with South Auckland pop-up stations.
Yeah.
The communities are a bit confused.
Yep, as I said yesterday, we're asking anyone who has cold symptoms to get a test, anyone who has flu symptoms to get a test, and anyone, when you hear in the news or you see online some of the cases where we've had outbreaks, if you've associated with them in any way, we're asking you to get a test as well. So those are the simple guidelines to remember. As well, if you're feeling unwell, make sure you stay home too.
So Brian Roach identified still quite a few shortcomings in the contact tracing, with it becoming more important to them. So I wonder what your priorities are for what you'd like to see improved.
Well, I think first it's important to say that the work that's been done on contact tracing has been fantastic. We now have a fully networked national contact tracing system. We have the ability to move from a local, on-the-ground, face-to-face approach in order to triage cases through to a national centre. We can keep track of those cases and the contact tracing nationally, and we've managed to maintain that gold standard of contact within that first 48 hours. So those improvements have been made over the past few months, and they've been fantastic. What we're looking to do is continue to strengthen the system. So now that we're in a level 2.5 for Auckland, we want extra precautions. So you'll see more often contacts being asked to stay in isolation and being tested. And that's us just continuing to step up our caution and our attempt to get in front of the virus on an ongoing basis. I think it is completely natural when we are in the middle of a global pandemic that of course is causing global disruption, that has an impact on confidence. That is almost a given in this current international environment. What we're very clear on is the best economic response we can have is continue to have a really strong health response. In fact, there are some exporters, and it is our primary producers and our exporters that actually continue, despite everything, to perform really well. They know our brand matters too, and so that's why we just have to sustain that really strong approach in our response to COVID. Yep. Well, for those, of course, we've always maintained that extra support through the likes of the wage subsidy has been key. We've had over 30,000 businesses apply and be awarded that extra support through that extension of the wage subsidy. And we know that's made a key difference to keeping people in employment. All right, I'll take last question, Katie. I don't deny that this has been incredibly tough for them. But I think probably, as we all see, there is virtually no country around the world who is coming out without there being cost to a country's people and its economy. Our goal has to be to lessen the impact on our businesses, on our people, on our health and well-being as much as possible. Okay. I'll make it the very last one.
Thank you. Are you comfortable with that 11 million donation, and are you aware of any thoughts on how to resolve the situation?
Yeah, I do think it's really important to keep in context that this sits within $1.6 billion worth of spending by us as a government into our education system. And so we've been very focused on making sure we're supporting our schools with their rebuild work, their infrastructure work, and that includes in the Taranaki area. This project, however, was also about creating jobs. Roughly 200 jobs are created through this construction project, and that's how it managed to tick all those boxes through the Crown Infrastructure Partners policy work that they did around shovel-ready projects. All right, thanks everyone.
Yeah, kia ora. We're keeping a close eye on what's happening with the fires down there. In our communication with Fire and Emergency New Zealand, they say they're keeping a good handle on it at the moment. We understand, however, that the winds are looking to whip up later on today, so we'll be keeping a close eye on it. In my discussion with the Prime Minister, it looks like I'll be boots on the ground in the next 24 hours. Yes, my understanding is a number of properties have been evacuated. And a number have also been warned that to prepare themselves for evacuation. The number one priority at the moment is people, number two, property. So I understand that message warnings have been sent to the district and people are preparing to evacuate. I look to the public, the general public involved in the fires down south. Please keep an ear out for the messages from Fire and Emergency New Zealand. They are leading the response on this. Of course, Civil Defence are coming in to wrap around some services around the community where we can support them where appropriate. But we just hope for the best, protect self, protect property where we can, and listen to the messages.
asking whether the boys wanted a photograph or not. We're just saying if you want a photograph.